This is why I'm all in on crypto. It's the only Noah's Ark out there right now. Graham said, at the start of the pandemic, you recommended everyone to move their stocks pension to cash due to what you thought at the time would be an imminent crash. Do you still believe this, or has the quantitative easing pushed this out / stopped this, in your opinion? Yeah, so it's a great question, Graham. So I think, again, this is why... So my trading students fully understood what I meant, whereas I guess the general public misconstrued that whole message or that video that I put out. Now that's my bad. Okay, so I should have probably explained it a lot better. So what happened was I said, yeah, there's a disconnect. There's a massive disconnect with what happened in March 2020. So, and the disconnect is basically between the stock market, or stocks, we can also put property in here as well, and the actual economy. So what actually happened with stocks is that we had a big old sell-off in March, and then we had crazy, giga boom, uber boom. But if you look at literally every single economic indicator on the planet, we flatlined. And we still are flatlining, as in, or going down. But it's like, so there's this big old disconnect. So the economy is in a worse state than it was last year. Way more debt, way more margin debt, less employment. It's just ridiculous. Now, why has that happened? Because they had to turn on the printing presses, and they inflated the currency supply by 26%. I mean, I'm going to focus on the US because it is pretty much the world at the moment. So because they had to turn on the printing press, they had to basically put a load of bandages and plasters over some very, deadly, fatal wounds. So, for example, in the UK, we got bloody furlough. Like, if there was no furlough, unemployment would have been even worse. I mean, this is the worst economic depression in recent human history. And when I say recent, I'm talking about over the last couple of 100 years. When you look at the percentages, it's worse than the 1929 Great Depression. So in many ways. So what's actually happened is, if you look at stock prices and property prices, this is not ROI. This is simply price inflation. That's it. I had to explain this to some people the other day. Like, they couldn't understand, which is no biggie. When someone can't understand something, it's not that person's fault. It's the teacher's fault. So whoever's trying to explain a concept or an idea, it's always the explainer's fault if they can't convey a message or a concept. So this is something that always bounces around my head. So when I meet people that don't get things, this is my fault. Okay, I'm constantly trying to work on different ways to explain it. So I think so I'll start with a high level, and then I'll sort of work down slightly. So the only thing you really need to know, which for crypto, for economics, full stop these days, is that if the currency supply does this, the purchasing power of that currency supply does this. Okay? But then one step further, if the currency supply is doing this over here on the left, and it's just going nuts, if you were to look at prices, if you just a yellow one, the prices of stuff that you buy also go up. Whereas, however, the intrinsic value of stuff will depending on what it is, will either be flat or it will go down. Okay? So this is like the highest level type concept thing. And the easiest way to explain it, I think, is the Mona Lisa. So the Mona Lisa, how many of them are there? There's literally just one Mona Lisa. She's looking pretty moody. There we go. That's Mona. Now, there's only one Mona on the planet, and I don't know, she's probably worth 100 million euros of some sort. So, I'm gonna, okay, these stats aren't correct, but I'm just gonna do this to labour the point. If the currency supply is here, and the Mona Lisa is worth 100 million euros, but then over the next 5 or 10 years, the currency supply does this, and it 3x's, what do you think will happen to the price of the Mona Lisa? It will go up. Now, it won't be completely correlated. It won't go up 3x, but the price of the Mona Lisa will go up simply because the amount of currency sloshing around has to go somewhere. And so this is the big difference between the word inflation and also deflation. The newspapers don't have a clue what it means, because inflation is two things. It's either supply inflation, i.e. the currency supply is going nuts, or you get price inflation. There's two things. So what's happened in the stock market, as I said over here, this is simply price inflation. So due to the currency supply inflation. So when people say, oh, we don't have inflation at the moment, inflation's like 0.5% or whatever, it's bollocks. Inflation is when they're talking about price inflation, it's about the things that you buy. It's not the CPI, as in the basket of goods, the CPI, sorry, the Consumer Price Index. It is a CPI. So what has happened to the price of everything that you buy? It's gone up. Petrol prices, food, shipping, like anything is basically gone up. Same with stocks and property. So there's been massive hyperinflation in stocks and property, and it's been compounded. So it's even worse. So you have stocks doing this, you have property doing this. What are incomes doing right now? Income streams. So incomes are flat or down. It depends who you are, what sort of sector you're in, and what country you're in. But across the board, I think everyone here can agree that people are earning less. Yeah, I would actually say, let's be real. People are earning less. I mean, hell, we've got furlough. I mean, loads of people are on furlough. We've got hundreds of thousands of people on furlough. So not only are you earning less, we have hyperinflation or massive inflation in stocks and commodities and property, and the money that you're earning is dropping off a cliff in terms of purchasing value. So if you're earning £10 an hour, well, guess what? Your £10 an hour is worth a lot less. It's worth basically 25% less than it was last year. So really, you're working for £7.50 an hour. I know £10 an hour is entering your bank account, but the purchasing value you have is actually £7.50. And when you combine that with the asset prices and commodity prices going up, we have massive hyperinflation right now. Well, okay, that's a bit extreme. We have huge inflation, and it will lead to hyperinflation. So this goes back to the question of, am I in stocks, am I in currencies, etc.? No, I'm not, because I'm thinking about this logically. Let's say I have my my FX account, and I'm trading. So what can I make with my trading in a good year? Because I'm a very lackadaisical trader, so I'll probably spend 5 minutes a day. And I'm not day trading. I day trade sometimes, but on a good year, I'll make anywhere from 10 to 30% ROI. But let's be realistic. Oh, not realistic. Yeah, that is realistic on a good year. But what's the hurdle? The hurdle right now is 25%. So is my trading going to consistently be more than 25%? No. Even if I had a good year, I made 30%. Well, guess what? I'm 5% up net. So is it worth my time? No. Stocks, yeah, it would probably do a bit better, maybe. But when you then compare, when you marry all of this, lower incomes, rapid price inflation, etc., to everything, and you have this hurdle of 25%, you're a freaking moron if you're playing with anything that doesn't make you more than 25% a year. I know I'm being really aggressive here, but I'm trying to make a point. The quicker you can understand that every person on this planet right now has a 15 to 25% hurdle, you're losing money if you're not making more than 10, 15, 25% a year. So property rules that out because that's not a given. Stocks, maybe. Only some stocks. So this is why, in fact, let's look at stocks quickly. You basically have two classes of stocks these days. When you see all of the stock, yes, the stock market is rising, and if you look at any, the S&P 500, etc., the Nasdaq, it's all gone nuts. But all of that, all the price inflation in stocks has gone to one place. It's gone to the FANG stocks: Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google, pretty much, and all the other things. And so these are typically companies that sell intangible products. So they are not affected by the rapid rising of commodity prices and import and logistics around the world. They're not shipping shit, if that makes sense. Well, mind you, Amazon is, but it's still basically a tech company. So all of these have gross marginal costs, like very little gross marginal costs. So they're getting all of the rallying. So you have, the FANG stocks which are doing this, and they're flourishing because they are growing more than 20% a year. But then you have value stocks, which, if you have any odds, if you have a company that's only growing 15% per year, or it's actually losing, let's say we're using the 25% hurdle, it's losing 10% net per year, which is why the prices only go slightly. So you've got to look at all of this. And so when you take the biggest picture, the biggest macro picture, and you realize that the global currency supply is being dumped into the toilet. You're having hyperinflation or massive inflation in various asset classes. And you have this huge 25% hurdle. You have to store your money in something which is not being inflated away, and also for something that was going to make you more than 25% a year. This is why I'm all in on crypto. It's the only Noah's Ark out there right now. Business, getting good at business, and crypto is the only Noah's Ark that will save us right now. This is why I have to talk about the WAP. The WAP has never been more important than now. Although it's very underutilized, the WAP has literally everything you need to know to basically weather yourself in this freaking shitstorm, which has just started, by the way. And what the WAP came around 10 years ago when I knew nothing about business, etc. I sat down and wrote a list. I started listening to loads of audiobooks, etc. And I wrote a list. Okay, if I want to become a billionaire, what skill sets and knowledge sets do I need to learn? I need to learn blah, 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 blah. And I saw patterns with all these successful business owners, not ones that I met, I saw on audiobooks, and also successful business owners in real life that I managed to meet. And they all had commonalities. What were the commonalities? They knew all of these different skills. So I wrote them all down. Well, guess what? The WAP covers all of these skills. Where is my notepad? No, it'll take too long to find. But I've still got my original notepad. I wrote down all these skill sets. Well, that's what the WAP is. The WAP is basically your sort of assimilation portal where you can basically get ahead of the curve. So you learn, even in the free video trial section, it talks about all sorts of stuff, demographic spending waves, the business sweet spots. I mean, oh God, this is going to take forever. But there's just so much that you need to, that hell, even the intro videos teach you. And hell, I set up a brand new business from scratch and grew it, sharing every single thing. We properly lifted the skirt up here. We shared every stat and how we grew this business in an alien sector that we've never done before. But if we go back to the WAP map, you learn everything from how to set up a business in the correct order, the different entrepreneurships, Facebook marketing, online, offline marketing. There's everything you need, whether it will be from life hacks to investing to trading to tax, love languages. That's really important, how you deal with people, basics of property, tech, staff, M&A. There's all sorts of it here. So you need it. You really do. So for me, let's go back to Graham's original question. Yeah, so what did I do? I sold everything. I moved to cash back in 2020, Graham, and guess where I put it? I put my cash in crypto. And the cash that I put into crypto in early 2020 has absolutely ballooned compared to everything else on the planet. So, yeah, that's my long answer to that question, mate. Hopefully it makes sense.